And now, you're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
Salutations, listeners and fans. You've got RBLR Sports with the RBLR Bucs crew plugged in and turned up. Grab your favorite beverage, find a cozy spot, and get ready to join us in a heart-to-heart conversation about our beloved Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm feeling like a kid on Christmas morning. Why is that, Musab? Well, that's because Tampa Bay football is back. It's pure magic. That is right. August 11th has arrived, and you, my friends, have fought through the offseason and survived. I get that it's not a regular season game, but hey, any Tampa Bay football action is better than no football, and I'm sure a lot of y'all can agree with that. So before I start jumping up and down and continue to say hoorah and continue to fire y'all up about how we finally got some football action, I'm about to throw the spotlight on my partner in crime for tonight's show. He dissects plays with surgical precision and drops insights that leave your jaw on the floor. This podcast arena is about to witness his greatness. Folks, he is Mr. Carter Brantley. Carter, take it away.
Oh man, I appreciate the intro. Definitely super exciting. I've actually been fortunate enough to get a press pass for tomorrow's game, so I'm going to be there at the Bucs Steelers game tomorrow. That's super exciting. I'm really hyped for it. Yeah, it's definitely that 24 karat magic's in the air. Or Carlton Davis magic is in the air if you want to go number 24 for the Bucs. But anyways, before I start getting too corny, we'll get right into it. We've got a lot to talk about, before the first preseason game. There's also been quite a bit of news for the Bucs in this past kind of week as training camp has continued. But before we do all that, I want to get a little icebreaker going with you, Musab. So we're both, natives of Tampa Bay, and there's the two kind of rival beaches, so to speak, St. Pete Beach and Clearwater. Do you have a favorite? Do you have a preference for when you're, getting on your swim trunks and looking to get a little tan? Which one's your go-to?
Oh, for sure. When I got my swim trunks and floaties, you best believe I'm at Clearwater Beach.
Ooh, okay.
Just because, listen, I would never mind a day at St. Pete Beach. St. Pete Beach, I've probably been there only a couple of times, but Clearwater Beach runs in my blood when it comes to beaches in the Tampa Bay area. I only say that because it's 15 minutes away from my hometown and where I am right now, which is Palm Harbor, Florida. And because it's really the only beach I've gone to a lot. Whenever we have guests, Carter, from out of town, we take them to two places all the time. One being the Tarpon Springs Sponge Docks, and the other one is Clearwater Beach, just because of all the commotion, chaos, and there's just a lot to do over there.
For sure.
And may I say, if you don't know already, that sand at Clearwater Beach is soft as flour. Honestly, I'm serious. I don't know. It's not like I'm a huge kind of beach guy. I probably had a couple phases where I was going to the beach quite often. I still love Clearwater Beach a lot. It has changed for the better, but that's really just about it. What about you?
I'm more of a St. Pete Beach guy myself.
Oh, okay.
I just, like you said, you grew up going to Clearwater. I grew up going to St. Pete. We just go down there, stay like a weekend or something, a little getaway, go to a Rays game as well. It was just, it's a good time. Clearwater can get a little crowded for my taste.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
Yeah, there's a lot of people there.
Especially during that spring break season, for college students, that like March, April-ish kind of time of the year. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, forget it. Yeah, especially because, Palm Harbor, right? That's where you at?
Yeah.
Yeah. Palm Harbor is closer, so it's nice. But, man, getting over there from Tampa, you got the Courtney Campbell Causeway is like the only little stretch that you can get there from. And, man, it's brutal. So, for me personally, St. Pete's just kind of more cozy. But I definitely understand Clearwater's hype. It's a lot of fun. So definitely not trying to hate on Clearwater. It's more of a laziness thing for me.
Oh, no, I don't believe. Is there anything special that goes on at St. Pete Beach? There's just like random little street shows and all that, but there is, I think, like some sand castle or like they have like sand art where a bunch of sand sculpture people create like really cool things just straight out of sand. Is there anything special that goes on in St. Pete Beach for our listeners to maybe stop on by?
Well, I mean, I'm sure you're probably more likely to see a Bucks player at Clearwater just because it's more popular. But yeah, the sculptures are really cool. I saw one dude making a sand shark kind of thing, and it was pretty dope. There's also a bunch of really nice little not quaint, but cool restaurants on the beach. So yeah, it's cool. You can also see the rotating bar. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but it's like a white hotel with like a thing on top that like slowly rotates, so you can get kind of a 360 view of St. Pete.
Oh,
But yeah,
wow. Okay.
yeah, it's kind of cool. It's kind of a nice little spot.
Seems like it's a little bit more classy.
Yeah, maybe
That's
a
probably what it
little
is.
more
Yeah.
classy, but
Okay.
it's still fun. It's a good time. But let's get into some Bucks talk, just because
Sure.
Bucks have been, they've been kind of not big news, but there's been some stuff going on with training camps for sure.
Most definitely.
So we'll start with, I see you wearing a Devin White jersey, so we'll
Oh,
just
yes, I am.
yeah, for sure. We'll just start off right off the bat. He kind of addressed the trade rumors, or not the trade rumors, the trade requests that he made. He said that he realizes it was a bit selfish, and he says his focus is on the team and winning. He really said all the right things. I'll give him a lot of credit. He seemed very focused. He seemed very even keeled, just kind of like, yeah, it happened. I'm trying to get paid, but stuff happens. There's more important things. And if I really do want to get paid, I have to put winning first and put the team first so that I can show everyone that I'm a team player. So even from not to get super off track, but even from like a selfish perspective, if he wants to get paid, he kind of had to cut that crap out, so to speak, kind of had to cut through the BS and just be super team focused and team oriented, because then he'll play better. The team will hopefully be better. And then he can parlay that into maybe a bigger payday than he would have gotten before. So I was really excited to see that. So, I know we've kind of lamented on him and lamented on the fact that he was kind of being selfish. Is he kind of good now? Like, are you kind of like, all right, cool, Devin White's back? Or are you still kind of like, I don't know how much I buy this?
No, I mean, I'm really happy that, he kind of finally admitted that, he was, very selfish about, this whole kind of drama that he created during this off season. I don't know. I think it's ever since Chat GPT came out, I feel like a lot of things that come out when it comes to sports news, a lot of whatever these people say just sounds so generic.
Oh yeah.
It's
Hmm.
like, listen, I want to be the best I can be. I was being selfish and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. The way I first translated it was like, listen, my agent finally made me realize I have zero chance of getting this, contract that I want unless I actually play dramatically better this upcoming season while also keeping my mouth shut. He actually had mentioned that, he said he wanted to be like a guy like Levante, who's also been here forever.
Yeah. You mentioned
And
Derek Brooks. Yeah.
yeah, Derek Brooks, and he just said that we didn't make it happen when I wanted it to, so that kind of just basically just told us all that, hey, listen, he was being selfish about when he wanted this kind of whole contract to happen. But yeah, to me, I'm still a believer. I'm repping him right now. I
Sure.
think this is growth. I think
Absolutely.
he's still a young guy. We all learn. I think he's going to be, or I hope he's going to be a Buccaneer for a long time. I feel like many people, even during this offseason, I had a tendency to kind of, bash his play this last season a little bit. But I do respect him coming back with a, more of a humble, positive attitude. Um, there's no reason, Carter, he can't be that guy from like that 2020 Super Bowl year. I think he just needs to go back to playing, playing every down, super hard. He has that, potential, that X factor in him. So hopefully, consistency is going to be a lot more relevant this year for him. Slash, we're going to be needing him more than ever just because of all the changes we've had during this off season.
Absolutely, a lot of roster turnover. So for
Yeah.
sure, having a kind of a stabilizing captain in the locker room is going to be huge. But yeah, I love what you said about just like keeping it real. Like his agent kind of must have gotten in his ear, "Hey man, you better turn this." That's real. That's reality. That's how it is. You can't be doing all that and expecting a team to be like, "Oh yeah, we're going to give an inside linebacker some big time money," even though he's not even
Yeah.
an inside
Well,
linebacker on his own team.
and then he mentioned that he's like, yeah. Well, I think one of his other statements he meant that he had like a sit down with Coach Bowles and some other
Right.
people in the front office. I don't know. I mean, could it? did they not have these kind of sit downs during the whole off season?
Right.
I think something specific or special happened, during this last meeting with them, just because of, the fact that we're about to start the preseason. I think they kind of really gave it to him hard / yeah, probably his agent too. I think he really kind of just got a reality check, like a nice big one, saying, hey, listen, you've been dramatic this whole off season. Clearly, if you haven't realized already, nothing's gonna happen. You're not gonna get your way.
Right.
So, it's our way or no way.
Yeah. And look, I get his frustrations because playing on a 1-year deal, playing on an expiring contract in the NFL is bad news. It's tough, especially someone his age, because he doesn't know how many more paydays he's going to get. Just from a realistic standpoint, the average NFL career isn't that long, so it's kind of, you only get kind of a few opportunities to rack up your money. And he's coming up on one. And, if he plays out this year on this kind of on this, I don't want to say a bum deal, but he's on this 1-year deal. It's a lot of money, but it's only a 1-year deal, and he gets hurt or he plays poorly, then that payday goes down the drain. And it's more about the injury, because if he goes out there, God forbid, tears his Achilles or has a pretty bad injury, then that sucks. That impacts that hurts his pockets. And you never, just as a player, you're playing for money, so no one's doing this for charity, that's for sure. But like you said, it clearly wasn't going to get done, and he needed to kind of just reshift his focus from that to the team. And it seems like he's done that. It seems like he has, even if his statement was written up by Chat GPT, he at least said it, he said the right things. So that was kind of some big news from the Bucs. But another kind of interesting storyline that I think obviously we followed it the whole offseason. We're going to continue to follow it into the preseason and into the regular season, really. Baker, training camp has started, and Baker Mayfield's been a little bit turnover prone. He's thrown some interceptions. He had 7 picks through 9 practices as of the beginning of this week, which is not ideal for a guy that you're looking to kind of lead the helm or lead the ship, no pun intended. And also Trask kind of looks pretty good. Like, he looks not bad. So it's kind of ramped up this competition, this QB competition that was kind of thought of, I don't want to say dormant, or I don't want to say already kind of done and wrapped up, but it certainly wasn't nearly as heated as I think it is now. They even put an or in the unofficial depth chart. I hadn't seen that before. They put Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask, so co-starters, whatever the heck that means. So I guess what my question to you is this true? Like, is what I'm saying valid to you? Like, is it really a quarterback competition now? Because I think we didn't really think of it as being much of a competition, but now it seems to be. Or maybe you disagree.
You know what? Honestly, I'm going to be honest with you. I am a little bit confused about all this going on, because what I had thought would be a dormant volcano was the whole Trask, Mayfield situation. And what I thought was going to continue to erupt was the whole Devin White drama. But clearly it's the other way. The Devin White volcano has now cooled down.
Right.
And now out of nowhere, we got this Pompeii-style volcano, basically all hell breaking loose about, this is a QB battle right now that's happening. Like, we're about to start the preseason. Reports have already come out that, yeah, Baker is to start this upcoming preseason game against the Steelers. And then it looks like Trask has the starting spot against the Jets during week 2 of the preseason. So I don't know. Thinking about it, a lot of people in the past, and when I was first on the Trask train, it was because, he waited his time very patiently. He was seen as kind of just a practice, kind of a practice quarterback only. But he finally, has got his time to shine, and he balled out for the University of Florida. I don't know. Maybe it happens again, in the NFL. I'm not saying that he's going to be extremely successful and he's going to take us to the Super Bowl or whatever. But if Baker's not the guy, then I think it's finally time to pass on the torch to Kyle Trask. And as you mentioned, it is super concerning to see, the whole 7 picks through 9 practices. One side of me does also want to not think too hard about it, just because I do think that the offense needs more time to warm up compared to the defense. Also
Absolutely.
thinking about how the fact that Baker Mayfield has had literally no kind of experience or any sort of chemistry with a lot of these players, like maybe Kyle Trask might have, during the last couple of years during camp or even just during practice. But it is very interesting to see the whole kind of or in there. It's Trask or Mayfield, and then you got John Walford in the back in the third string or whatever. But oh man, Carter, I don't know. But what I will say is we need to decide this ASAP. I'm hoping we have this solidified after week 2 against the Jets of this preseason, just because I don't know who said it, but it's a famous kind of line. A team with 2 starting
Yeah.
quarterbacks is a team with no
No.
starting
Yeah.
quarterback. So yeah, we need to sort this out ASAP. This is probably one of my high priorities right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. It is the priority right now for the Bucs because, it's the most important position. And it's kind of, they got to see what they got in both of them. And so I guess my follow-up question, because I know you mentioned the trash train, would you consider yourself to be back on the Trask train at this point?
Oh man, I'll tell you this, man. I'm chasing down the trash train while it's slowly departing the station. You know what I'm saying? I
Right.
don't know. I mean, I got my ticket in my hand.
Yeah.
The little train guy is standing outside yelling last
Doctor.
call as the train is going like 2 miles per hour. I don't know. Right now I'm jogging. I might be sprinting after, tomorrow's game. Or I might just totally slow down and just let that train go. I don't know. But oh man. It's just so sad to know this is happening now more than ever. I wish this kind of talk was happening a month or 2 ago or something, or maybe earlier on during training camp. Um, I just can't believe this is happening, really. Obviously, one side of me saying, oh, Baker Mayfield with the whole experience, we've seen what he can do. And then on the other hand, finally, oh, maybe we got to give Trask a chance. I don't know. It's not that I want to lean towards the other, but it's now just honestly, I'm just going to put my blindfold on, listen to the radio, and whoever has the better stats, whoever seems like he's doing better, let's just go with
Yeah.
him. Maybe it
Right.
is finally time. Maybe it's finally time just to let sometimes it happens in a lot of other leagues. The first league that comes to the mind is the NBA. Sometimes, when a mediocre player goes on to another team, like a crappy team, he tends to actually really ball out
Right.
just
Yeah.
because there's no one else to count on. You know what I'm
For
saying?
sure.
So if we can't count on Baker, clearly we're going to have to count on Trask. Whatever he does is whatever he does. Maybe it's not all sunshine and rainbows, but maybe as weeks go on, he finally picks it up. And maybe, during the end of this upcoming season, we have an idea as to maybe this guy has potential to, really improve as the
For
couple
sure.
years go on, or, to hell with it. Let's get rid of them both.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a now or never situation for both of them when it comes to their time on the Bucks. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of interesting to think of it in the terms of like Trask's UF career because he kind of had this same situation. He was kind of just sitting there. He wasn't starting or anything, and then his senior year, he comes rambling in. Him and Kyle Pitts have this dynamic connection, and they have a ridiculous season. So I don't know. Maybe Trask kind of has a similar situation here in Tampa. Hopefully he has because he had a really great year that year at UF. So if he has anything close to that, then man, the Bucs are going to be set. They're going to be really really happy with their decision. But yeah, it's certainly something you want to see them kind of get wrapped up soon because you don't really like you said if you have 2 starting quarterbacks, you got none. So yeah, they kind of need to figure this out real quick. But one thing that you guys could figure out, the listeners, if you're listening in, I would love y'all to figure out your best of the Bay vote. Creative Loafing has these best of the Bay awards, and we are nominated thanks to you guys. So thank y'all so much. But we still, just one more step. If you can go on the Creative Loafing website, go to the Best of the Bay link. We actually have it linked in the description as well as our pinned tweet on our social media account. So yeah, if you could check it out, it's under the entertainment section and then hit best podcast. RBLR's right there. If you could vote for us, we'd surely appreciate it. We're really excited. We're almost to one. We're making milestones. We're making steps. So this would be a huge milestone, a huge step forward for us, and we'd really appreciate it. So if you like what you're hearing, take a gander on over there. So anyways, moving on. We've mentioned the first preseason game. They're playing the Steelers tomorrow. Obviously, the Steelers have kind of their own interesting team going on. Kenny Pickett's their starting quarterback. They've got Najee Harris coming off of a really down year. A lot going on there as well. But strictly Bucs. The Baker's, like you mentioned, Baker's running with the first team. He's getting the first crack at it. Do you have any expectations or things that you're looking for in this first preseason game, Musab?
Yeah, probably just a couple. I guess just how quickly the chemistry builds up / accuracy of Baker Mayfield. I'm looking at just our young guys. All these newcomers on our team like Trey Palmer, undrafted free agent Raheem Jarrett, and people like Devin Tompkins. How do they do against actual opponents? I'm even looking at Zach's kind of favorite as well, one of the rookie favorites, Servassier Dennis. A lot of talk has been going on about him during this offseason, and I slowly kind of hopped on the Dennis train a little bit as well. I feel like this guy really does have potential, and we're gonna need him for sure because I want as much as depth as possible. So I'm curious to see what he does as well. How much kind of damage he puts out there on the field. But question / what I'm also just interested in looking at is just, I want to see some of our starters make a splash or two on the especially defensive side. Carter, are there any specific players that you're looking at, that you're saying, okay, hey, listen, there's might be a chance they may not play a lot or maybe even a little bit, but if they were to play, are there maybe a couple players, that you're thinking of that say, hey, I'm just wanting them to kind of make a splash or two just to, let the league know, let our team know, and let our fans know that, hey, they're coming in hot during the season.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the kind of the front seven, so to speak, you mentioned Dennis as well, who's a great pick for this. But if you're speaking strictly starters, I feel like JTS would maybe need to, if he plays at all, he would need to make a big splash. But even just from a broader standpoint, potential starters, Yaya Diaby's getting rave reviews. I mean, everyone's been going crazy over what he's been doing, just the athletic ability, his motor. So I would love. I'm really excited to see him. I think he's probably my favorite player to watch, so to speak, in this preseason, just because his roster spot's secure. He's not playing for a roster spot, but he's playing for reps. He's playing for starting minutes, so to speak. I know that's more of a basketball thing, but because the edge rush position it's Shaq and JTS, but JTS has been so blech that he could easily, if he has an explosive preseason, he could take a lot of snaps away from JTS, and that would be exciting, just because it means that Yaya played well. So that's one big thing. I think another one is Jose Ramirez, the late round pick out of Eastern Michigan. He is fighting for a roster spot. His roster spot is by no means secured. So if he could come out and make a big statement in any of these games, but especially week one, just because, not a lot of starters are going to be playing for very long. So he's going to have probably quite a bit of time out there to kind of make his mark, show the coaches what he can do against, like you mentioned, real competition. So yeah, Yaya is my favorite, but Jose Ramirez, Yaya is my favorite kind of roster lock to watch. But Jose Ramirez is definitely my favorite kind of on the fringe guy to watch, just because, if the Bucs get a good pass rush, then that defense is going to be really, really solid this year, because the rest of that defense is pretty good. But how about you, Musab? Do you have any kind of starters that you're looking for specifically on the defensive end to make a big splash?
I mean, I was just going to go with JTS, but if anything else on the defensive side, I don't know. I mean, I would love to just maybe see, Carlton Davis or Jamel Dean maybe get a little bit of action in there just cause. But what I am also interested in, what I kind of want to do a little bit is just kind of start putting these kind of backup defensive backs a little bit on the chopping block, just because we got so many of them, and I feel like a lot of them are gonna get their opportunity to shine or whatever. Just to kind of start, picking heads, saying, hey, does this guy really have a chance to stay with us or does he not? That's what I'm looking at, these few upcoming preseason games, is to see, who's really going to help us out, / it's kind of going to, create a specific feeling, about, how do I actually feel about the whole defensive back unit? Okay, because clearly we know what Jamel Dean and Carlton Davis and Antoine Winfield are capable of doing, Ryan Neal, or what they're capable of doing. But I want to see how people like, Zion McCullum, is he going to be really stepping it up this upcoming season. D. Delaney, Nolan Turner, all these kind of guys, even the ones behind them. So that's really about it, though. I mean, starter-wise, I'm just looking at JTS. But other than that, though, I'm fine with if the starters barely play at all or they don't play at all. I'm just really looking at just the kind of defensive back, seeing, who's going to be relevant during this preseason, and are they going to kind of get a lock spot in on our roster? Most of them probably won't, but let's see who will.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot up in the air in general with the team, but the defensive back, you're right on the money. There's really two, maybe if you count Zion McCollum, there's three guys who are like, okay, they're going to make the team. But yeah, other than that, they've got a lot of kind of guys that could or could not make it. So yeah, these preseason games are going to be huge in determining, where they go. Because I don't know, it's tough because we've seen over the years with the Bucs that they experience a lot of secondary injuries. There was that year where D. Delaney was starting kind of a lot, and it was kind of concerning. It was tough to watch. So, it's going to be important for them to really give these depth guys a chance to kind of earn their spot. Another guy that just came to mind, Josh Hayes. He's a really, he's a rookie, 6th-round pick out of Kansas State. Because that slot corner positions, no one seems to know who's going to be playing there, really. So he could step in and fill that role and maybe do some nice things. He could really earn himself a roster spot as well as maybe a starting position. So, yeah, a lot of exciting things to look at when it comes to this secondary. But on the offensive side of the ball, I feel like you mentioned Trey Palmer. He's going to be huge. But, I love that you mentioned Devin Tompkins, because Tompkins is kind of another guy that's fighting for a roster spot. So I think offensively, he's kind of one of my guys to watch, just because I feel like Trey Palmer's spot on this roster is a bit more solidified. But Tompkins, he could contribute in the return game. He's a bit undersized, but he's very athletic, very quick. So it'd be interesting to see how things move forward with him. But how about you on the offensive side of the ball? Do you have anyone that you're looking at or looking for to make kind of a splash in this first preseason game?
I like that you mentioned the whole Devin Tompkins kind of situation, just because, I mean, yeah, any of those kind of guys in the backup, and, they're all on the chopping block. I don't think that he's a hard lock in on the roster spot. And I am curious to see, how the special teams, works out when it comes to receiving punts or receiving kicks. Because as of right now, they got Tompkins as starting for the punt reception and kick receptions. But behind the punts is Trey Palmer. And then behind the kicks, they got Rashad White. Which is a little bit interesting because I don't know if he's ready to take all those special team hard hits, but we'll see about that.
Yeah,
I don't know. That one's also interesting to see. But I mean, I want to see, how quickly they can kind of pick it up with Baker. I know it's their first game and they're going to be on the spotlight. It's going to be a whole different kind of experience, playing an actual game against, real opponents. But I don't know. I'll probably just going to take it a little bit easier this time, just because we haven't really seen anything really anything at all from anyone during this season or preseason just yet. But I'm hoping that, we can kind of start nitpicking a little bit more after this first game against the Steelers as to, who really has it, who doesn't. I don't know. Maybe they have a rough game or so, but then again, this is the NFL. Everyone's fighting for a spot. So, you're going to have to want it bad if you want a spot.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, it's week one. It's always going to be tough the first week out. But then again, rosters get cut down pretty quick. And like you said, the NFL, very cutthroat business. You're in, you're out. There's no in between, really. So, I mean, for these guys, a lot of these guys, it might be their only opportunity to make a roster in the NFL. So it's really important. I've got going to be a lot of, kind of tense guys out there. Hopefully some of them can kind of relax and just kind of realize, hey, I'm also playing on an NFL field. This is pretty cool. Because, I think it's going to be important for a lot of them to step back and realize that while they do have this big opportunity in front of them, they're also, getting a pretty cool experience just to kind of, be on an NFL team. That's really awesome. So, we'll see how it goes. Because like you said, once week one happens, then it'll be a lot easier to kind of make some assertions, give some analysis about things, and just kind of see where the Bucs are at. Especially with a lot of these depth pieces. Even with Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask, they might only get a couple series at most apiece, but hopefully there will be some kind of action. There will be some things that go on that we can point to and say, oh, this was really good, or oh, this was really bad, or oh, well, maybe they can work on this. And then John Wolford, whatever he's got to say, he'll be doing the rest of the signal calling for the rest of the game. So yeah, we'll have a lot more to talk about for sure next week with this preseason game. But kind of taking a way too far ahead look, this is kind of just a fun exercise, just because I love the draft and I just love talking about it. So this is a way too far ahead look. But who are your favorite NFL 2024 draft prospects? Because as much as the Bucs are playing for this season, and it should be interesting, but they're also kind of playing for the future. So I wanted to hear offensively and defensively one apiece. Who's your favorite 2024 NFL draft prospect on the offensive side of the ball?
In the anticipation that everything is mediocre, I don't think that anything special is going to happen from Kyle Trask or Baker Mayfield, but I also don't want to be reaching for a first-round quarterback. I'm looking at running back. I'm looking at, Raheem Sanders from the University of Arkansas. We need another kind of big dog out there, someone who's young, someone who has potential. This guy's got size in him, okay, and he's tough. Also kind of has that pass protection kind of skill that he brings to the table as well. Really good on the screen game, but that's really about it though. You can hype a college prospect as much as you want, or an NFL prospect as much as you want, but it really just comes down to how do they adjust in the NFL. I think he has potential, but again, Carter, as you mentioned it to the fans and the listeners, this is a very early, far ahead look. So I'll just leave it at that. But who's your guy?
Yeah, for sure. I really like Raheem Sanders mentioned, just because we don't know what to expect with Rachaad White in regards to the Bucs. But my guy was Emeka Egbuka, the wide receiver out of OSU, just because, if the Bucs are up there, if the Bucs have a pretty horrible season, they're going to be pressured into taking a quarterback. And I don't know that that's the right move if it's not Caleb Williams, but I feel like they're going to feel that. And I think that they're going to pull the trigger on it, unfortunately. So I kind of went with a second round guy, which I think you kind of did the same with Raheem Sanders, just because, unfortunately, if the Bucs have a crappy season, how NFL teams love to just jump at the first quarterback in the first round they see. But in regards to Egbuka, he's out of Ohio State, and he kind of gets overshadowed by Marvin Harrison Jr., and rightfully so, because Marvin Harrison Jr. might be one of the best wide receiver prospects we've ever seen. Ridiculous. So, yeah, I get it. But I don't know if that Marvin Harrison is going to last past the number 2 pick. Like, I think it's pretty much going to be Williams Harrison. So, it might be a bit unrealistic to have Harrison, although as much as I'm sure everyone in Bucs Nation would love to have him on the team. But Emeka's really, really good too. He's tall, fast, and he's got the aggressiveness. His biggest problem is just drops, which is something that can kind of be worked out a little bit. You see that a lot with really talented wide receivers, that they can just, Mike Evans was kind of known as a drops guy for a little bit there. So, and if Evans or Godwin maybe leave for free agency, or maybe they unfortunately are a cap casualty, or they get traded, whatever, the Bucs are going to need some playmakers out there for whoever's under center. And Egbuka would be a really, really solid choice. So now going to the defensive side of the ball, I went with another Ohio State guy, unfortunately, because I despise Ohio State, but whatever. Jack Sawyer, edge guy out of OSU. He's really interesting. He's a high motor guy. His biggest issue with him is just burst off the line of scrimmage. But a lot of this is dependent on what these guys do this season, because the college football season obviously hasn't even started yet. So, if some of these guys have breakout years, which Sawyer very well could, so could Sanders, they could certainly shoot up draft boards. And if Sawyer does have a productive year and he's playing against some pretty quality competition in the Big Ten, then he could really shoot up some draft boards. And, you can never have enough pass rushers. But how about you, Musab? Who's your defensive guy for the 2024 draft?
I like it, man. I'm going with safety from Miami, Cameron Kitchens, just because I'm thinking about our depth. I know it's too early to say, how I genuinely feel about our safety room right now, minus Winfield and Neal. But then again, we're looking at a too early prediction or a too early take for our draft next year. And I'm thinking about this guy, for Miami, just because, what I was able to kind of see a little bit or read a little bit about him, he's able to kind of read the kind of routes. He's good at kind of reading the quarterback as well. He's a hard hitter. For a guy his size, he's a hard hitter indeed. Him and I'm forgetting the other guy, but they got a little dynamic duo action going on at Miami right now. Him and this other gentleman, I'm forgetting from the top of my head, but they're both ranked up there right now on a couple of these NFL, prospect rankings for 2024. So I think he'd be a good person to get, in the early rounds of the draft, just because I'm looking for someone who is young, has potential, the skills that he's bringing to the table, able to read, the QB, the routes, and also be hitting hard. I like that a lot, and I'm hoping that maybe we can make something happen if we were to get him.
Absolutely. And I know you mentioned Ryan Neal and Antoine Winfield, but Neal's on a 1-year deal. If he plays well, he could certainly be gone by next season, unfortunately. So yeah, safety is definitely going to be a position of need for the Bucs in the 2024 draft. So that's definitely a great pick, definitely a great mention. But yeah, I mean, Miami safeties, I mean, the first guy you think of, Ed Reed. So, if he turns out to be even a quarter of the player Ed Reed was, that'd be
take that.
Yeah, that'd be super exciting. But yeah, so it sounds like the 2024 draft is going to be super exciting, really important one for the Bucs. Jason Light in the front office are definitely going to have to be, working the phones and doing as much as they can to improve this team. But of course, we still got to see the 2023 season. So definitely excited. But thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning into this episode. We're kind of nearing the end. So we'd really appreciate it if you enjoyed what you heard, if you liked and subscribed. You could also follow us on any of our social media accounts at RBLR Sports, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Definitely check us out there. We really appreciate you tuning in again. And from Musab, Tariq, and Carter Brantley, go Bucs.
Go Bucs.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.